Good day, and welcome into the news. So welcome to the fake technology that's from the past, present, future, mostly past and present type of show. It's just really kind of interesting, guys, because I'm trying to run over a couple of things that are interesting because they didn't exist in the past necessarily, but it's also kind of giving context to old things that are sort of new things today. What I mean by that is for example, I've got like an old phone and like a new phone, and there's one thing that's a little bit less cool about the new phone is that it doesn't have quite as much memory. And so what we have to do is try to use the old phone so that if it's possible to just use the memory on the old phone, that it's still kind of cool, because in essence there's that ability to leverage the memory on the old phone by doing flash memory shifts from one phone to another, so that ultimately it's possible to keep the new phone cleaner so that one functions well and is more efficient. But at the same time, upon cleaning out the old phone, it is also necessary and also, able to be able to flash, connect, and shift things from the air into the air. Literally, just push one button and it kind of flies in from through the air like Bluetooth, but it's called AirDrop, and it actually gets to the other phone, and then therefore you can kind of store everything on that new phone because it has more memory, and it's kind of useless otherwise. That phone is pretty much basically useless otherwise for the most part. So what it is kind of is just serving its purpose as an old phone in the past. Still technology good, but it's mostly just a memory phone because actually it's kind of broken in many other ways, and like the screen, including the battery connector, it's all very broken, but it still serves a purpose, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. And that kind of segues on to the next part of the technology show, which is a joke because it's the past, present, future, but it's also the present, and most of the present, but the past is relevant because it's been increasing, but at the same time the future is going to be insane in terms of technology, absolutely no doubt. So what I'm talking about is AI art. In this instance, we're talking about AI art because that's been coming along quite a bit over the last couple of months and years, and all the things considered, but in the future it's only going to expand exponentially, which is insane because it's been really cool, and it's actually kind of like a pipe dream that it even exists to begin with, because I had absolutely no idea that there was any chance that could ever exist, in no way possible necessarily. So when it became to be, it was like a miracle in its own right, because it was something that I've wanted ever since high school in its own way, because it's not just for me or about me, but it's something that I've tried to have other people do by talking to them and such, but other people are very difficult to work with and such, try to get them to do art and such, and especially we have to work out contracts and such things to be able to make it, and then to be able to get the art to be able to flow into the world and such, and then have contractual connections with business sense and such, that not try to step on toes. It's all about a big issue to a certain extent. So anyways, the bottom line is that nowadays, to be able to have AI art come about, to be able to use messaging and such things, it's kind of interesting to be able to to do two things almost at the same time, in essence, which is the main actual beginning, I guess you could say, of this little chit-chat cast show, is that, there's two sides. You can have an asset schedule. You can be able to make an asset schedule, which means that you're able to make your schedule an asset, which as opposed to meaning you just get money all day long. It's something similar, kind of like a step below that, I guess you could say, where you're trying to set up assets in the meantime that have the ability to grow into money and monetary energy, ultimately by starting with in essence always on the front end philanthropy energy. That's the core, because you want to find other people that match with you in terms of philanthropy energy, and that's kind of the baseline, bottom line, in essence type of thing. But at the same time, it goes one step beyond that, in terms of one step further than that, to be able to try to connect with the greater interest of that whole process and game plan, is to be able to also leverage past contacts, so that you're not just trying to always have to find and resource and source for new people at the same time all the time. But you can look at your old contacts and be able to use old contacts to be able to refresh them and reboot them and recontextualize them, because you find new ways upon your new soul to be able to resurface a new concept of how to look at things in life in a new foundation as time grows and people grow and their businesses grow and entrepreneurship within them grows, that the foundation of who then what they are and what they pursue and what they're following, and it all evolves and grows to a certain extent to where one day it becomes a new thing, as it does every day, because every day resurfacing cells are resurfacing and becoming new every single day, in essence. So as they're shed into a new day, that ultimately you realize the context of yourself and your entrepreneurship and all the skills and such things that revolve around your process want you to follow a certain direction, and therefore the context can shift from people from the past because they can gravitate more towards that direction that you're flowing towards, or they can gravitate less necessarily, so you can amplify that direction from yourself and recontextualize that with context that you have in the past to be able to create more contacts that you have from the past, to be able to try to create more context for them in the present day, so that it's possible to be able to connect in a better way with past context in the future, in the present, to be able to make your schedule into more of an asset schedule, so you can try to connect with people in the present about things that relate to your entrepreneurship journey, in essence, and also doing that by using AI art. So it's two-sided. You want to make your schedule into an into an asset schedule, which is ideal, so that it's not like you're getting money all day, not like you're getting paychecks every hour of every day, but you can kind of do something that's similar and try to have it be aligned with that to a certain degree, to where every single every single hour, in essence, can entail certain interactions, and all those interactions can revolve around the concept and the conquest of money, in essence, by having that alignment with certain philanthropic energy at the back end, be at the core understanding and conceptual dynamic, because that's the fuel that fuels monetary energy, in essence, in the DINKY Tehc world, and also, it contextually with how just the functionality and the chemistry of money works and monetary energy works. It's sort of fueled, in essence, by philanthropy energy. So therefore, if that's what's the core of your interactions and such things that you keep the people close to you are about as well, and aligned with you about, and most aligned with you about, that in essence, that if you're having any sort of interactions at all, assuming that time is limited and that you're trying to focus on business and being able to facilitate a business, and that also using time effectively and efficiently correlates and corresponds to being able to try to align efficiently as possible with the efficiency of the time of the day that's available, to align with not only your purpose and your presence and such things, and as a personal brand and as an entrepreneur, we're in entrepreneurship as a whole, but understanding that just based on using that time to be able to try to connect with the right energies to grow your own energy as a business in the best way possible, in the shortest time possible. It's necessary to have the right people around you as best as possible, and time is limited. So being able to do that, you can have old contacts, new contacts, future contacts that you don't know yet, to be able to undig them up, to be able to find them, to be able to try to align better with your purpose and amplify your purpose through other resources that they have, to be able to connect to your core principles and interests to begin with. And in doing that, it's ideal to be able to have folks around you, to be able to use AI art, to be able to symbolize and to be able to recontextualize, to begin with, different interactions to begin with, by setting them as seeds, using AI art to sort of plant the seeds and make various peculiar infrastructure visualizations to try to set the tone, to be able to go into interactions, or even capsize, captionize at the end of interactions what the interactions were about, using AI art, and using AI art as a symbol, using AI art as a symbol to be able to remember and recall what it was about, what the symbol was about, what the strategy was about, what the action plan was about, what the symbology was about, that was symbolized by the nature of the interest to speak to begin with, at the beginning or the end of an interaction, so that there's symbology in conceptually every single interaction that's had in every time and interest throughout every single day, through every single audience that is had in every single conversation and interaction in every day, whether it's one to many, one to speaking to many, to a group, whether it's one group on the internet, whether it's one group on a one-to-one, two people in a call, whether it's a one-to-one group. Every single dynamic is different, the energy is different, the interest is different, but they can all be captionized by an AI art piece, and therefore making that AI art piece, which is something that I'm trying to also see about how to try to put it together in like a book. So every day we've got AI art for every day, that's sort of like this podcast is supposed to be sort of captionizing the day and how it's gone and what's been going on, and this is what's the purpose of the podcast as well, to begin with, in essence, but to have like a book of some kind online, like a blog type of thing, to just try to conceptually put all these AI arts together in one collection for every single day. In essence, if I'm able to actually captionize every interaction that goes on, and also develop and contextualize more interactions to facilitate future and furnish the same process that I'm talking about, in essence, to be able to try to facilitate the interest that's being spoken about right now, which is using the AI art as symbols for any particular group that you speak to. It doesn't matter if it's 1 to 10,000 people if you had to talk like that, or 1 to 4 people, or 1 to 27 people. It's all the same thing. There's energy that can be described, and therefore it can just be also a way to make an asset schedule so that there's constant assets and you have constant reminders, because those pictures and those art pieces can be reminders and symbols as time goes on of those times, those dates, those contexts, those specific energies that occurred. In essence, so hopefully those two things are possible at the same time, and they're very intriguing. I guess you could say hand in hand, I guess, if you will. Yeah, so moving on down beyond that, we're talking about having like a fake, not a fake, but kind of a conceptually interesting advertising agency, like a white label ad agency, in essence, like a white label ad agency that's actually powered by the ad agency itself. So the ad agency, in essence, is actually powering the advertising for the advertising agency, but at the same time they're just making a white label advertising agency, but at the same time they're still actually servicing the clients at the back end with the advertising agency. So it's kind of like a full circle, little bit of an infinite, type of business energy, type of a loop, type of a thing, which I hope is possible to make that occur, which I talked about on the last podcast, in a fake sense, making like an infinite money loop. That's maybe the closest thing I could think about that actually kind of could be something that could set off that conceptual process, because the advertising agency wants itself to grow. So they're using, if DINKY Tehc is able to make a white label agency that is able to actually function that way, in essence, because we do actually want to connect and develop and manufacture products, in essence, so it's not just for that surreptitious self-interest to try to get money from them servicing themselves through this single loop process, but it's also the relevance of having an ad agency to begin with, to be able to facilitate the growth of any businesses through the use of a marketing agency going forward as an affiliate. So it's kind of just an interesting dual purpose concept to just throw out there, like that infinite, energy loop of infinite advertising agency energy loop, them advertising themselves if they're good, to begin with, to be able to advertise a white label agency that's powered by them. So in essence, that loop is hopefully bringing in money for both people on both ends, if that's actually functional and able to work out in reality, as opposed to just in theory, which is what the podcast is doing and chatting for about. And the next piece is talking about not saying no. It's just like, as opposed to like worrying about the yeses and the things and letting it crumble. It's just not saying no. It's the bottom line is just trying to get through things by just not saying no. By not saying no, meaning that it's a lot better to have a commission little piece of something as opposed to nothing necessarily, because even if it's just like, the littlest bit, it's still better than nothing. So having a partner, having multiple partners, as opposed to just nothing, is always the yes, because it's better to just do things, because you learn things from things, even if it's not like functional and such. Usually the energy is at the way that there's just something to be gained in one sense or another. So it's just like a not no. It's like a not no. It's hard to exactly explain this exact angle and principle and specific nature of what I mean, but it's just a not no. It's trying to not say no, because a lot of times things get too crowded and the devil's in the details and all those annoying things that cause things to not work. So you want the things that cause things to 100% be yes. You want the pipeline energy so that no matter what happens, it's 100% yes, and you gravitate towards those energies and you kick out all the things where the devil's in the details are always going to amplify and make things that never happen. So you just want things to go and flow and get to the energy flow, as opposed to no. As opposed to, it was a maybe, it was a conceptual. It's like trying to lean in on the things and the directions of the ways where it's always going to be, at least get to a yes, to where you can at least test the product, where you can at least test the market, to where you can at least test the functionality and the flow of the energy loop, to be able to get things on the market and such things, and have therefore people and energies and such people and networks and such things that make those types of energies work and flow on a consistent, regular basis, surround and circulate that type of energy flow in introspective, conceptual, foundational, beginning mindset to begin with, so that all those other properties are able to flow around it with that ever-present functioning energy flow, energy mindset, presence of mind to begin with, because that, again, causes better assets and flow beyond that. Yeah, so it just basically means that you get more assets occurring when you are around foundational connecting energies. You want to continue to connect that energy by always saying yes, because don't ever say no, because you just get a small piece of commission. You always want to say yes, so that the energy flows. As long as you're around people that make things work, that's the priority, and get that as the priority. And because it's way easier for things to not work out than things to work out necessarily. So if you get just a small commission, always say yes, as opposed to no because you don't get the whole thing, or no because you go the wrong route and the devil's in the details. Make it the yes routes every time. It's worth it for the long haul. And lastly, the little tidbit is just that if you are around some people that are smarter than you, that they sometimes can have codes for you. If they say things that are smarter, you put them in your memory, you put them in your log, and then you can code that into what you know necessarily. And what I mean by that is, like, they have a saying, they give you a fact, you can actually code it into the mainframe of what you're trying to do next, meaning like you incorporate it into what you're saying, what you're doing, the directions that you're going with people and things, and it adds to your code in essence by just a couple of things that add to the core of the direction that you're going in, by adding some of those core foundational facts to your process, so that you can add it to your code, and it kind of steps up your code just by acknowledging and being able to lean on some facts of people that are smarter than you. It's not exactly learning, it's like adding to your code by just having those facts become real, and then you just get to lean on those facts and ride them to the next level in your own code, if that makes sense. Anyways, we'll just kind of leave it there for now. As a little added end bit tidbit. Anyways, thanks again, Tinky Tech. Peace.